All right, guys, I know I normally don't upload on Sundays. We do the podcast here on the channel, but I thought that this information was important enough that I would try to get this video out as soon as I could, because we are finally hearing the first hands-on impressions of the PlayStation 5, individuals who are actually able to see it in person, actually play some games on it, and just give their overall thoughts on what the experience was like. Now, unfortunately, they weren't able to engage with the PlayStation 5's UI or the create button or any of the new features that will be on offer with the UI, which is unfortunate, but we're going to be getting that relatively soon. I mean, it's kind of a given, but that's not to say we didn't get any significant information out of this, because we did. And the main focus seems to be on two things: load times and just how quiet the console actually is. Now, I really am excited to hear how quiet the console is and how it apparently stays very cool. Not just a little bit, not just like, oh, it's what you would expect. It's actually kind of surprising people, because one of the things that they are emphasizing is that the room they were in, like the room that the PS5 was in, was about 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was pretty warm in there. And you would think that that would kind of lead to the fans or something kicking up in high gear, but apparently that's not what was going on at all. So we're gonna get into it here. If you could do me a favor before we go any further, if you do end up enjoying the video, be sure to leave it a like. It really helps it out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already, and hit the bell notification icon as well. But as it says here, PS5's quiet cooling is even more impressive than its load times. So good stuff here. We also got a bunch of new images as well of the PlayStation 5. But it says the first PlayStation 5 hands-on previews have expressed surprise at the quietness of the console's cooling system. Publications including 4Gamer and Dengenki shared their experiences with the next-gen console on Sunday, as well as over 10 YouTubers who published PS5 gameplay for Astro's Playroom, Godfall, and Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. The two publications aimed particular praise at the PS5's cooling system. Dengenki, translated by a VGC contributor, said the quietness of the fans was more impressive than the loading times, while 4Gamer was similarly impressed. It goes on to say, I started playing one of the launch titles, Godfall, and after some time passed, I checked the temperature. The breeze coming from the exhaust port was gentle and didn't feel exceedingly hot, wrote 4Gamer. During this time, the studio itself was about 30 degrees Celsius. Again, that is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Based on the specifications of the SoC, it operates at around 55 to 60 degrees Celsius. While you may think, isn't the fan loud? It's quite the opposite. So really good news here, guys. Really good news. It's really sounding like Sony was not kidding when they said that we will probably end up being pretty impressed with the cooling solution that they have come up with here, and that they are excited to show it off. So it says, as previously mentioned, the breeze from the exhaust port was light, and I could barely hear what I believe to have been the fan rotation. By the way, the studio where we shot was in a basement, and there were 4 powerful lights for recording videos on the ceiling, so the room temperature was 30 degrees Celsius. The publication notes that a typical home environment is likely to be much cooler than the studio they tested the PlayStation 5, so it's quite likely that the PS5's exhaust will not be terribly loud. It added, if anything, the main concern should be the size of the unit, so it's necessary to ensure enough space for both the unit as well as ventilation. If you plan to replace your PS4 with the PS5, be sure to account for its size and prepare an additional space of 10 to 15 centimeters from the front, back, left, and right. Dengenki was similarly impressed with the PS5's cooling system, calling the console exceptionally quiet. So yeah, that is one thing they are warning everybody about, is yes, this console is as big as it looks, and you're going to want to try to make sure you have enough space in your entertainment center, or just find a spot where it can sit comfortably and there can be enough ventilation, because that is a problem that I think some people are going to run into. The PS5, as far as I know, is I think it's the biggest console ever made, if I'm not mistaken. I know for a fact it's the biggest PlayStation console, but I think it may actually be the biggest console in history, which is crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. Goes on to say, I want to report that the quietness of the fans was more impressive than the loading times. There must be many people who are interested in this. Yeah, I think there are. The PS5 was exceptionally quiet. We had about 1 hour and 45 minutes with the unit, and I think it took about 1 hour and 20 minutes to actually start playing the PS5. Since we were in the studio, there was various equipment around, but the room temperature felt hot because of the intense lighting. While playing Astro's Playroom and Godfall, I didn't notice the sound of the fan. When I was about to finish playing, I quickly confirmed, is this a fan? Finally, when I touched the main unit, it didn't feel hot. And so the article here continues, it seems there is no need to worry about its cooling and ventilation system. Rather than focus on fan noise or cooling efficiency, I want to express that the size of the main unit was relatively large. Since it was quite bulky, I would recommend placing it somewhere with plenty of room for proper ventilation. The PS5's size and shape appears to be heavily influenced by Sony's intention to improve PS5 cooling and fan noise. It says here, according to Bloomberg, a Bloomberg report from earlier this year, Sony has implemented an unusually expensive cooling system in the PS5, something which the platform holder has itself previously hinted at. Speaking in his PS5 hardware video earlier this year, system architect Mark Cerny first revealed the PS5 would feature a high-performance cooling solution. However, Cerny would not share exact details of the PS5's cooling solution, only stating that he felt users would be happy with what the engineering team came up with. So yeah, I gotta say, guys, this is some really welcome news for the PlayStation 5. I'm really happy to hear that this is a problem that Sony has apparently went above and beyond to solve, because when I tell you I am just completely over how loud my PS4 Pro gets when I'm playing pretty much any game at this point. I know people tell me to dust it out, which I have done, and thermal paste and all that stuff, but I'm just looking forward to when I get the PS5 and I play anything on it. You know, I don't care if the fan kicks on a little bit. I don't care if I hear it slightly, but I certainly do care if I'm hearing this loud jet engine, air conditioning like sound coming from my entertainment center. That's just something that I've, it's become such a problem for me, and I'm really glad to see that it's not going to be a problem going into the PS5. So it's also worth noting, as I said again, that the console's large. I mean, when you look at these pictures, the console is very large. It looks really good though. Like, that's the thing, is for as big as this console is, I think it's one of the best looking consoles ever made. Like, the more I see it, especially now seeing it with these just more natural photos, they're not like renders, and seeing what it actually just looks like, the real thing itself, I have to say I'm really starting to think this is one of the better looking consoles ever made. I really do like it. So yeah, what I also want to mention here, guys, is we're talking about Godfall for just a minute here. Some people were asking me to talk about this. It has been confirmed. Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news when it comes to Godfall is that it's going to be an online-only game, even if you want to just play it single player and solo, which is pretty annoying, and it does require PlayStation Plus. Now, I'm assuming, this is not going to be a problem for most people who buy a PS5, but there are also a lot of people I know that are not happy about this and expressing some frustration with it. Unfortunately, that just seems to be the direction they're going in. I don't really know why, but it just seems like it's going to be an online only game. I think it's kind of unnecessary, considering, there are people who would just want to play it by themselves offline. But, it is what it is. The good news, however, though, is Godfall apparently looks really good. There were some people running with the idea that Godfall is running at 4K, 120 frames per second, native 4K. But since that has come out, the Godfall Twitter account actually confirmed that this is not true, that they're still finalizing. Well, actually, it's kind of weird because I'm pretty sure the game already went gold, but they were saying that, optimizing that stuff comes at the end. So what we know is it's not going to be native 4K 120 FPS. It seems like it's going to be 4K 60 FPS, maybe even a dynamic 4K. They wouldn't confirm. But the real good news here is that the load times in Godfall are exceptional. Apparently, if you hold down the circle button after dying, you can actually respawn in less than 1 second, or about 1 second, 2 seconds at most. And the reason why you have the option to hold the button is because they actually do have a screen that comes up that can give you tips or anything like that if you want to read them. But if you don't and you just want to instantly respond, that's something you can do. And it was very impressive. So overall, I think we've gotten some pretty good news out of this whole situation. One other thing I do want to mention as well is with the DualSense controller, the way you figure out which controller is what, like player 1, 2, or 3, is even if you look here at this image, you can see it kind of right here. There's a little light there, and this is indicating player 1 because there's only one light. You'll see 2 lights for player 2, 3 lights for player 3, and 4 lights for player 4 as well. So just a pretty cool detail there. You know, nothing major, but still something relatively interesting, I'd say. So that does it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Again, nothing but good news coming out for the PlayStation 5. I know some people are getting a little bit antsy as to when we're going to see the UI and whatnot, but you know, just be patient. We're going to get there. It's going to be soon, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. So leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already, hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.